$5,000 grant, $10,000 grant, $50,000 grant. Were any of these grants announced in the no less than 3 new stimulus bills revealed today? I'll have those details, but the big details are what's happening with hazard pay. Has everyone forgotten hazard pay? Is it the forgotten ingredient in the second stimulus? Meantime, how about the SSI grant? That $2,400, $200 every month all the way up to December. What's going on with that? Then, I'll be going over the big grants you can get right now, not a week from now and not 5 days from now. Then, CR for stimulus. Is stimulus that's going into the CR going to have grants or not? And which grants are they? A lot of confusion, but a lot of clarity because this is Purple. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Afternoons LALATE, and this is an afternoon recording of Purple. Join me in 15 minutes after this recording for Being a Mitch with the return of Sirloin. But boy, there's developments across the board today with no less than 3 new bills, a lot of hot air, a lot of confusion about the CR, a lot of confusion about what's in and what's out. And the only thing that's still out is Nancy Pelosi's hairstyle. But let's get to what's going on here, folks. If you've not subscribed, please do, because I'm getting viewers money right now. In the last few hours, I would say the last 2 hours, I got no less than 6 DMs from people thanking me for getting them about $5,000 in the last 24 hours. Most of these viewers were viewers who applied for money either between the last 48 hours or since about maybe last Thursday. And they're seeing enormous lump sums that are being given to them for rent, for utilities, for food because of this channel and the volunteers of this channel and the information I'm imparting. So please subscribe to this channel because I want you to get this money right now. Not 5 days from now, not 5 weeks from now, and not 5 months from now. We're staying on top with everything for stimulus. I'm giving you the up-to-date detail, and I'm not mincing my words. But ultimately, I want you to have thousands of dollars now, not a week from now, and not the end of December. Meantime, also like this video. It really helps in the rankings. In this video, I'll be going over what money you can get right now, what money will be coming potentially in late December, and what money will be coming in January. A lot of confusion because there was 1, 2, 3 new bills introduced today. There was a statement by the president, a statement by the president-elect, a statement by the Treasury Secretary appointee. It's just, are you keeping track of this? Yeah, it's just everyone had a statement, and I had a statement. Do you like my statement? It's a black and plaid statement. With that, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as you sit here today is that a series of bills were introduced today, and the bills were all junk. Needless to say, I'm not dwelling on them, and you shouldn't dwell on them either. It's sort of like an ex that you sort of got over. Okay, after today, I'm not talking about you. I'm deleting you from my phone. That's what you should do with today's bills, because ultimately, people are looking at them saying, who's supporting this stuff? No one except yourself. There were a bunch of junk bills that didn't have anything of anything that you really should be concerned about. Ultimately, they were bad because they did not include a stimulus check, did not include anything but big bailouts to states, big bailouts to big businesses, and yes, they were wonderfully big grants to businesses. Now, the good news, as we sit back and get back into reality, is that cities across the country in the last 24 hours have announced a lot of grants that we did not have no less than 24 hours earlier. City of Houston announced a big grant program that's upwards of a $1,200 stimulus check. New Mexico announced an enormous grant program over the weekend where you will be getting big stimulus check and additional relief because they're putting you on forms of lockdown. Then, state of California, Gavin Newsom announced a massive business grant program today, upwards of $25,000 for business grants. And this is on top of everything that I've been talking about today. I'll be getting to, in a second, the money grant you can get right now. But let me talk about what Mitch McConnell's doing and what congressional grants you could get under a CR. What is a CR? A CR is a continuing resolution. It's a budget bill. And it has to be done by December 11th, meaning it has to be voted in the Senate, voted in the House, and signed by the president by December 11th. So they don't wait till the last day. It's done several days ahead of time. So will there be any grants in the CR, and what would they be? The only grants I believe that would be in the CR as an emergency stimulus, this is emergency stimulus to get you from now to January. CR would have a PPP grant, says a series of reports. That would be a nominal amount of PPP, but there wouldn't be any other grants in the CR. So where would the other grants be? Let's go over each of them. First, the $2,400 SSI and SSDI, Social Security Railroad Benefits grant, that would be in a standalone bill done shortly after the CR. Biden wants this to be done, the Republicans want it to be done, and it'll be a standalone bill unto itself. Next, EIDL. Where would that grant be? That EIDL would be in a second stimulus package bill. The second stimulus package bill, which would follow after the CR, would have a series of big items. The question is how many would survive? And it all depends upon the negotiations, depends on whether the Senate remains Republican controlled, and it depends on whether Joe Biden and Janet Yellen want to do exactly what the original HEROES Act called for in May, or want to tailor it down. The original HEROES Act in May called for the following grants. First, $10,000 EIDL. This would potentially be two types of EIDL. First, people who never got their EIDL grant or got a $1,000 grant and not the remainder of the $10,000 grant back in early 2020 or mid-2020. Second, new EIDL applicants for $10,000 grants. Then there would be a CDC grant. The CDC grant is paid to frontline workers. The amount of the CDC grant is not clear in the bill. Then the Lifeline grant. The Lifeline grant is a $50,000 grant that is proclaimed in the HEROES Act. But the size of the grant is so big that I've always wondered whether it will ever survive. Next, hazard pay? Yes. A hazard pay grant would likely pass even a Republican-controlled Senate because the Republicans want to pay frontline workers. But at what dollar value? If the Republicans control the Senate, I don't see it at $10,000. If they don't control the Senate, I do see it at $10,000. The hazard pay grant is based upon the following calculation. January 2020 to 60 days after the pandemic ends, which is approximately at this point 60 days after April, which is when the vaccine would be in mass distribution, times the number of hours you worked, times $13 an hour, up to $10,000. If you're an essential worker and you made less than $100,000 last year. If you made over $100,000, then you would reduce it to about $5,000. Very simple. Now, hazard pay is one of those bills that takes a long time to get paid. And so viewers have been asking me, do you see a hazard pay during the holidays? Do you see hazard pay in January? Do you see hazard pay in February? What I need to make very clear to you is that between hazard pay and rent grants, which I'll get to in a second, both of those are very slow items. Why are they slow? Because they have to set up the agency. There is no agency to distribute hazard pay. They have to set up the agency. They have to staff the agency. Then the agency has to set up the website for the application process to start. Then the applications are submitted. Then they're reviewed. Then they're approved. Then the Treasury puts money in the agency. Then they send out the grants. You see how this is long? I see it at least 30 days after any type of hazard pay ever became law for money to actually go out from hazard pay. And the same thing is for rent. But with that, the real focus of this channel is not so much waiting to January for hazard pay or waiting for January for rent grants or waiting for a CDC or a Lifeline grant or an EIDL grant. The focus is getting grants that are available right now. Why would you wait around when you could get grants right now? The important thing to understand is that rent, utilities, and food applies to almost every viewer of this channel. The only viewer that some viewers think it does not apply to is homeless viewers, and in most cases, it does apply to you. For my homeless viewers, I have heard of rent grants that are paying for first, last, and the entire year. So basically, they could put you back in an apartment if you've become homeless because of this pandemic. So please consider rent grants. Now, let's go to how you get them. There's 3 ways you get CARES Act 1 grants, and let's go over the first and easiest way. It's a city hall, your county hall, and your state housing authority. Your state housing authority has money for rent, and your city and hall and your county hall have rent, food, and utilities, or I should say rent, utilities, and then food. Now, you call your city hall, you call your county hall, you call your state housing authority, say, do you have any rent assistance? Do you have any utility assistance? I'm having problems paying my bill because of the pandemic. Do you have any food assistance? Ultimately, they mostly generally do. But what's important to understand is that you start with rent, which is the cat's meow. You want to shoot for rent because viewers are getting anywhere from about 6 months to 12 months for rent, and the lowest they've gotten is three months of rent. They're sometimes getting anywhere from $5, $10, $15, $20,000 for rent, and they're getting it whether the rent is $800 a month or $1,200 a month. But what's important to understand is that if you rent into a blockade for rent, especially if you're in a major city like Los Angeles or New York, you should then be doing utilities. Every utilities grant is generally still in force out there. Now, when you're doing utilities grants, you're going to start with your city, your county, your state, but then you're also going to contact every single one of your utility companies because they are privately held and they're doing utility grants. They could be as low as $300 and upwards of several $1,000s if you're having problems paying your utility bill. Go get it. What's important to understand is that food is also available. And lastly, the most important thing to understand is that if you are in a town like Houston before today, where you call them up and say, and you find out they have no rent grant, don't sit back and say, there's no rent grants in Houston. Yeah, there are. They're now actually from religious organizations who are absolutely wonderful, action committees, and political action groups that the volunteers of this channel know about. Go to youtube.com/LALATE/community and see the list of no less than 8 to 9 volunteers. These are people who are working around the clock to help you find these grants if you're having problems. I had a very nice message I got last night from an elderly woman. She said, I'm elderly. And she said, I'm also having problems. I have problems seeing. So I can't see certain words, but my housekeeper would be here tomorrow. I said, here are 3 volunteers. Have your housekeeper reach out to these 3 volunteers tomorrow and tell them you're having problems seeing. You can't see things when you type. She said, thank you so much. It's that type of spirit of this channel to be frank, to be honest about your situation, and to confront it in the best way we can. And ultimately, we all have compassion for one another. Next, the important thing to understand is escalated benefits. These are really exciting. Escalated benefits are for anyone on unemployment who made more than $19,000 2019 earnings. You look at your 2019 tax return. Step 1, pull it out. Look at it. How much did you make in 2019 on that tax return? If it's more than $19,000, you should do it. If it's more than $30,000, after this video, you stop everything you're doing. You turn the coffee off. You turn off the pancakes, you turn off the TV, you stop playing Nintendo games, and you do this right away because you're going to get $1,000 in your bank account very, very quickly. How do you do it? You get a copy of that 2019 tax return onto your phone or computer, however you're going to communicate with the unemployment department. Take a picture of it, scan it, however you do that type of thing. Then write a letter. Hi, unemployment office. My name is, I'm currently being paid $120 a week for unemployment benefits, and my 2019 tax return is attached, and it shows that I had $31,000 in 2019 earnings. Please see if I qualify for additional weekly benefits. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. Done. It's as simple as that. Please see if I qualify for additional weekly benefits. Please see if I qualify for more weekly benefits. Please see if I qualify for extra weekly benefits. Very, very simple. After you set it off, you call them the day after. You call them the day after that. You keep on calling them until you hear that they have approved it. When they approve it, they're going to do it retroactively to the date at which you went on unemployment benefits. I'm going to answer a really great question I got on Holidays LALATE. A viewer said, can I do escalated benefits if I was unemployed, but now I'm employed? Absolutely. So if you were unemployed for 3 months, but are now employed, this would be for the 3 months you were unemployed. Very simple. Now, if you're still unemployed, and it also is retroactive, it's always retroactive. So if you've been unemployed since this pandemic started, that would be approximately 30 weeks. You got me so far? Well, this is what's going to happen. If you made over $30,000 last year, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $300 a week, retroactive. Yes, that's $9,000. Yes, viewers have gotten $9,000. Actually, they've gotten more than $9,000. This is money that every state is required to pay you. It is not some surprise. They all do it. Next, if you made more than $25,000 but less than $30,000 2019 earnings, more than $25,000, you'll get about an additional $100 a week. About $3,000, bam, right in your account if you've been on unemployment for 30 weeks. Next, if you made $18,000 but less than $25,000 2019, then you'll maybe raise about $50 a week. Approximately $1,500, bam, right in your account right away. What's important to understand is that if you're watching this video and you qualify for CARES Act 1 grants, or you get CARES Act 1 grants, you can also do unemployment assistance, unemployment escalated benefits as well. And you could do EIDL as well. EIDL is a very simple instrument. It's a lending instrument. It's at sba.gov. Economic injury disaster. I've had viewers get them approved within 24 hours. No one has done more EIDLs anywhere worldwide in recordings than me. I've gotten viewers anywhere between $5 to $25 million in EIDLs between the month of April and June. I was doing no less than 3 EIDL recordings every single day starting on April 25th. And I know every nuance about how you do an EIDL. But the most important thing to do when you apply for an EIDL is follow the following steps. First, go and get your Experian Vantage 3.0 score before you do anything. It's Experian, it's Vantage, and it's 3.0. Ensure that it's 570 or higher. If it's not, do the Experian Boost. That's Experian.com/boost. It's free and will raise your score 20 points. Then, at that point, if you're still not higher than 570, call Experian and have adverse entries removed. I had a viewer on Holidays LALATE that asked this question, and they said their current score is about, I think it was 650. So they were about 100 points lower than they need to be. No problem. 100 points, you could absolutely get that in about a week by removing adverse entries. So don't worry about that. If you were denied an EIDL based upon bad credit, it's because you did not check your Experian Vantage 3.0 before you applied. But if you applied before this recording, you ever saw this channel, then you can win it on reconsideration by getting your Experian Vantage 3.0 over 570 and doing a reconsideration. Very simple. You'll get approved very quickly. Now, for those applying, this is what you need to understand. It's your individual application or it's your business application. Don't confuse it. So if the income is on your personal tax return, the applicant is your name, the applicant is your business, your personal account, and your personal social security number, and your Schedule C line 1 and line 2. If it's your business that's applying, your LLC, your incorporation, it's your business's name, your business's SEIN, and it's line 1 and line 2. Next, on the very first question, it's going to ask who's applying. If it's your individual application, then it's independent contractor, sole practitioner, or solo. That's the case of Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, Airbnb, all those type of businesses, electrician, plumber. If it's small business, then that means you have an LLC or corporation that's applying. And go get it. It's that simple. I want you to get this money right now. Ultimately, we'll get stimulus checks. You will get stimulus checks. I believe that Congress acts in a diligent and logical way. You will get stimulus checks over the holidays. But for now, I want you to get this money. This is money right now. And I really thank the volunteers for incredible efforts of them. And I congratulate the new viewers who continue to get big grants in the last 24 hours. Meantime, join me in 15 minutes from now for Being a Mitch with big developments on what's happening legislatively with that CR and your stimulus. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay about life for more.